Last week I said, don't look behind the curtain. This week I'm going to say, follow the yellow brick road. Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing Emerald City, Episode 3. And we're back. Now, before we jump into this week's episode, I do want to just point out something that was mentioned to me about last week. Like I said, this isn't exactly based on the books or based on the movies that came before it, and the movies before it weren't even really based on the books. However, there's something about this that was based on the books that I didn't realize that was. So before we go any further, I want to pull out that one of our listeners has told me something new, something that I've spent some time in researching. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing this, but Cavalier, whoever you are, thank you very much for pointing out the fact that Tip is actually from the second novel, The Marvelous Land of Oz, the continuing adventures of Scarecrow and Tin Man after Dorothy goes home. So I don't really have any prize I can give you, so here's a no prize. But yes, this storyline that I thought was a metaphor for trans might actually still be in modern telling, but is definitely based on the second of the great and powerful Oz story. This may just be the excuse I needed to go back and actually read these Oz stories, the originals. In the meantime, though, there's other things to talk about tonight's episode, so let's get into the meaty part. So once again, it's stop, spoiler time. And we're going to start off with me saying how wrong I was last week. I thought one person was going to be the Tin Man, and it turned out to be Jack. But as much as it wasn't the head guard, it does also tell us something about the way the world works in Oz. They're not just magic, they're technology. Well, a weird steampunky technology, because they're replacing limbs. They replaced his heart. And you know what? Never mind. No, that's just magic. That's just a different type, a science-y magic, an artifice of magic. But at the end of the day, we've learned that Glenda and her sister from the West recruit from orphanages. Now, the one from the West seems to be recruiting almost like for a brothel, where Glenda's recruiting people to be the witches who are going to advise the wizard and sit on his council. I'm not entirely sure exactly how it works, but the fact that Tip is now in there scares me. The fact is that I believe that Tip is, in some way, shape, or form, one of the witches. Now, in that story, the quick synopsis I read, Tip ended up being someone even more important than just a witch, but it's possible she's just one of the cardinal witches reborn. Remember, when the series started, there were only 3, and there are 4 cardinal directions. My sister did point out that in classic magic and Wiccan and Wicca, there's 5 elements, not 4, but I'm not sure they're going to go with that, with the cardinal directions. We also have the fact that the Wizard of Oz himself is starting to not trust his own council, and that's why he's trusting the one who called BS on him, the one who thinks there's something more going on. And the fact that the beast will fall from the sky. Gee, I wonder if that beast has a pretty face and is being hunted as we speak by one of his guardsmen. We're going to have to wait and see, because she already has the ruby gloves, and maybe with it the power of one of the cardinal witches. She also already has a protector in the Scarecrow, well, Lucas. And I'm still not 100% sold on the fact that this was always meant to be a Wizard of Oz remake. There's really a part of me that thinks someone had a fantasy novel in them that they really wanted to write, but I'm still enjoying the story as it goes. Tonight had a constant theme of making your way in the world, making your place. Maybe that's partially the whole season. We'll see about that coming up. But I did like the idea that Tip ran into. So wait, you're telling me that as a girl, my only choices in life are to be a nun or a whore? I think our protagonist Dorothy would argue that there's a middle ground in there, as a sexually liberated, powerful protagonist, almost the hero of the story. But then there's Jack's story, and the meeting of Lady Eve, and the entire thing of the fact that she's a monster. Well, she's a something, and maybe he's becoming one too. As I've said many times before, the story aspect of who am I and how do I belong in this world is a strong one that pops up in fantasy a lot. But we're not just seeing it from weak characters, because I think we partially are seeing that with the wizard himself, and the whole idea of what he has left and what he has to lose. Of course, the part of the episode that is easiest to draw that to is our good old Scarecrow, Lucas, or Rowan. He doesn't know his place in the world, because he doesn't know who he is. Ever since his mind was taken from him, his brain, he had no ability to remember who he was until someone recognized him. And when he did, he came after him. However, then Dorothy shot him. And just side note, how many bullets does Dorothy have? I'm not a gun person, but I'm assuming that the gun can only hold somewhere in the neighborhood of umpteen bullets. We know she fired one in the air, we know one killed the witch, we know one was shot now into the night, so at least 3 down, possibly more. But as this episode drawed to an end, we have all these characters searching, not just for other things, but for who they are, who the Scarecrow really is. How does Dorothy fit in, and why was her mother's coat here in Oz? The knight wants to know what happened to his friend. I'm not even go into what's going on with Lady Eve and Jack. At the end of the day, everyone is searching for some inner truth. Are you who you were? Are you your past? How much do you owe to those who made you what you are? And of course, one of my least favorite things that comes up in shows like this, science versus magic. Is it energy, or, at the end of the day, does one trump the other? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I'm going to have to do some more research into Tib and who she is, but I also am going to have to look into a little deeper what they're doing with this wizard. Because really, remember the original Wizard of Oz was someone using science to replicate magic. Someone that was hiding out behind the curtain. Pay no attention to that man, of course. But as we go through this, I'm curious what you thought of tonight's episode. I'm still really enjoying the show. I think that there are some points that are a little iffy, but I especially like the way they managed to make the Scarecrow and Dorothy scene seem so genuine when he fell for her. But again, let me know down in the comments what you think. And then this is the point in the episode where I have to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to this video so that we can build a community. And as we saw up thread, everything works a little better with a community, so that we can tell each other when we get things wrong, or inform each other on different ideas and thoughts. And doing so, we can walk through the heart of the stories we tell. Thanks for watching.